Hello everyone, welcome to Tennis Fan Video. Jessica Pegula defeated Belinda Bencic for the first time in her career on Wednesday. Pegula recently won the Dubai Tennis Championships and has carried her excellent form into the Indian Wells event. Pegula secured her 8th consecutive WTA victory after beating Bencic 6-3, 7-6. The 32-year-old broke her duck against Bencic after losing all 4 of her previous matches against the Swiss star. In the quarterfinals, Pegula will play Elena Rybakina, who won her second Grand Slam title at the 2026 Australian Open. Ahead of the contest, Pegula discussed the really tricky conditions in California. Jessica Pegula says the Indian Wells conditions are really tricky. Speaking to reporters after beating Bencic, Pegula explained why the conditions are so tough in Indian Wells. "It's really tough," she said. Center court is a little bit slower. I would say Stadium 2 almost feels faster. Some of the side courts feel faster. Some of the practice courts feel slower. And that's just the variance I think tournaments always kind of have because they're laying down the courts at different times and different days. We're kind of used to that, but I think with the thin air and the fact that it can get really hot here, but then also get to cool and get very windy is really tricky. It's hard to control the ball when the air is really thin and dry. But then the court feels sometimes slow. It's just tricky. It's one of those things I think we all kind of struggle with, and you're just trying to do your best out there to figure out, and adapt and try to figure out how to play your game without, overthinking it. Pegula was then asked if the windy conditions were made more difficult due to the flat hitting game style of Pegula and Bencic. Indian Wells WTA quarterfinals. IJ Swiatek versus Elena Svitolina. Jessica Pegula versus Elena Rybakina. Aryna Sabalenka versus Victoria Mboko. Talia Gibson versus Linda Noskova. "A little bit," she continued. "I felt pretty good out there today. I think it did get a tiny bit windy with the wind. It was a little tough serving against the wind, especially because we returned so well. So when we were kind of sitting on returns and hitting our spots and moving forward, it was tough to defend on that side. But I think she's had some pretty good results here. I haven't played horrible here, but maybe not one of my better tournaments of my career. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more just learning how to figure it out and depending on what time you play and the matchups that you play on certain days and how the weather is." Later in the press conference, Pegula discussed whether the conditions favor more powerful players like Aryna Sabalenka and Naomi Osaka. Pegula said, "I think that probably the slower conditions, it does probably favor the bigger hitters that just have more pure, strong power because they're able to kind of hit through a slower court or a slower ball. I think that maybe has always been a little bit tougher for me, but that's something I have tried to improve and get better at. But at the same time, I really love a hot, fast, hard court where sometimes maybe the bigger girls don't like my flat ball. So I think it goes both ways. Obviously, you play a lot of night matches, especially when you're a top player and you play bigger matches on bigger stadiums, and you have to be able to get better at that. I was happy with how I played my night match the other night. If I'm night match again, it's just again another challenge that I kind of need to figure out." Jessica Pegula's Indian Wells tournament so far. Round. Opponent. Score. Round of 64. Donna Vekic. 4-6, 6-2, 6-3. Round of 32. Yelena Ostapenko. 4-6, 6-3, 6-2. Round of 16. Belinda Bencic. 6-3, 7-6. Quarterfinal. Elena Rybakina. It's always tough, too. When I play night match, I'm usually playing against a pretty good player, so it gets tougher and tougher every time. What will the weather be like for Jessica Pegula versus Elena Rybakina? Jessica Pegula and Elena Rybakina are scheduled to play their quarterfinal match at 5 p.m. local time on Thursday. Temperatures are set to reach 34 degrees Celsius, 93 Fahrenheit, as per BBC weather, and there is no chance of rain. Light winds from the north are expected, and temperatures are set to cool by 3 degrees by 7 p.m. The pair are set to avoid the hotter period of the day. At 4 p.m., temperatures are set to hit 35 degrees Celsius. The desert winds of Indian Wells Tennis Garden have a way of humbling even the best players in the world. The courts are slower, the air is dry, and the swirling breeze can turn a perfectly struck shot into a frustrating error. For Jessica Pegula, the conditions at the iconic Indian Wells Open have proven to be exactly that, really tricky. As she prepares for a high-stakes showdown with Elena Rybakina, Pegula has openly admitted that adjusting to the desert environment hasn't been easy. The American star, known for her clean ball striking and tactical intelligence, has found that the unique combination of slow courts and unpredictable wind demands constant adaptation. Indian Wells is often called the fifth Grand Slam, but that reputation comes with its own challenges. The courts reward patience and physical endurance, forcing players to build points carefully rather than relying on quick winners. Pegula, who thrives on controlling rallies from the baseline, understands that every shot must be measured. "It's really tricky out here," she hinted in her recent comments, reflecting on how the ball behaves differently in the desert air. "Some shots seem to hang longer, while others skid unpredictably." Timing, so crucial in tennis, becomes a puzzle players must solve in real time. Unfortunately for Pegula, her upcoming opponent is someone who has already proven she can master these conditions. Rybakina has built a reputation as one of the most dangerous players on the WTA Tour. With her powerful serve and fearless baseline aggression, she has the ability to dominate matches when she finds her rhythm. In slower conditions like Indian Wells, her heavy ground strokes can still punch through the court, making her an especially difficult opponent. The matchup promises a fascinating contrast in styles. Pegula often relies on precision and consistency, carefully constructing points and waiting for the right moment to attack. Rybakina, on the other hand, brings explosive power and the confidence to end rallies quickly. Yet Pegula's experience and tactical awareness could prove decisive. Over the years, she has developed a reputation as one of the tour's smartest competitors. She reads opponents well, adapts mid-match, and rarely panics when momentum shifts. Those qualities will be critical against a player like Rybakina, whose aggressive game can quickly turn matches into fast-paced battles. For Pegula, the key may lie in patience. If she can extend rallies, absorb Rybakina's pace, and use the slower courts to neutralize her opponent's power, the American could gradually tilt the match in her favor. But the conditions remain the wild card. Even the most experienced players sometimes struggle to find their rhythm in the desert. Gusts of wind can arrive at the worst possible moment, and the dry air can make the ball behave unpredictably. Players must constantly adjust their footwork, timing, and shot selection. Still, Pegula appears determined to embrace the challenge. Rather than viewing the tricky conditions as an obstacle, she seems to be treating them as a puzzle to solve, one that could unlock another deep run in the tournament. And with a place in the next round on the line, every rally will carry enormous significance. When Pegula steps onto the court against Rybakina, it won't just be a clash between two elite players. It will also be a battle against the elements of Indian Wells itself, where patience, resilience, and adaptability often decide who moves forward. In the desert, nothing comes easy. And that's exactly what makes Indian Wells so captivating. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.